Hello and welcome to the Emmy Awards. I'm your host, Emmy Cardinale, and this is my podcast where I talk about what I've been watching or rewatching once a week. If this is the first episode of mine that you stumble upon and you enjoy it, please feel free to follow me wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're listening to this on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you've listened to a few episodes, maybe give a rating and a review on whatever podcasting app you're listening to this on. As the title suggests, I will be talking about Bachelor in Paradise, The Summer I Turned Pretty, and then Big Brother 27. Timestamps will be in the description. I said this in my last episode, but timestamps are not super accurate or not 100% accurate because I have monetization turned on and the ads are added randomly. So they're slightly off, but they're not crazy off. So I apologize for the inconvenience in that regard. No long intro like I did last time. The one thing I do want to say is the last 2 weeks, my episodes have come out on Wednesdays. I am really going to try hard not to get this episode out so late. Last week, I was going through a hard time, which I talked about in my last episode. And then 2 weeks ago, And then I'm recording this Thursday, so the episode that just came out yesterday, Wednesday, that genuinely, it just ended up not taking me. I work from home, and I sometimes, if I have downtime, I am able to get some editing done in the lulls of my shift. And I just honestly was not super able to focus on anything besides work when I was at work. So sorry that the episodes have been late. I'm recording this Thursday. The last 2 weeks I've recorded on Fridays, so I hope that will at least give me some time to get a head start. So apologies for all the delays. Please follow me if you like the episodes so you can get notified when the episodes go live. Because I've been very inconsistent, it's good to have that notification if you're interested in the episodes, of course. So thank you so much. It means a lot. And also the episodes go out on YouTube a little bit later than they go out on other platforms just because the RSS feed, which is where I upload the episodes and then they get distributed, it automatically distributes to a bunch of podcasting apps, but exporting it to YouTube is a separate process. So sometimes I'm able to schedule the episodes, but then I can't schedule the YouTube upload until the episode's been published. So if I schedule the episode, sometimes by the time I wake up, I haven't, it's already been up for a few hours and then I have to manually upload it to YouTube. Anyways, sorry for all the whatever. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about is Bachelor in Paradise. I have to be honest, I don't have a ton to say about this. It will probably be a shorter topic. I feel like the two shows, I feel like the last few weeks I haven't done the best job at really diving super in-depth to Big Brother. And I have to say, I feel like I have less to talk about in terms of the other shows. So I do think that I should be able to get at least a full hour or maybe a little bit more talking about Big Brother, but we'll see. The Big Brother podcasting space is oversaturated. There are a lot of podcasters and a lot of really wonderful Big Brother podcasters who do things that I'm unable to do just in terms of time and resources and everything. I am a one-woman show. I edit, record, I record, edit everything myself. So in terms of just and I'm not saying because I don't know the ins and outs, but I imagine people that have more established podcasts have editors or more of a team behind them. Whereas I have to do everything myself and I have a full-time job. So it just, I'm not able to do a ton. So I do my best and I do pour my heart into these, but it's not as comprehensive or as in-depth as people who do daily recaps or so live feed updates. I'm no Taryn and I'm not trying to be. So if you like my 2 cents on the game, hopefully you enjoy the podcast. But if you want super up-to-date updates, I'm probably not the best person. Not because I wouldn't want to be. I'm just working with the time restraints. And I have to say, I kind of fell into this accidentally because last Big Brother season, I was fully just focused on Big Brother and I would maybe touch on another show here and there. But there wasn't a ton I was watching, so that was the majority of my episodes. But I can't not talk about The Summer I Turned Pretty every week because I have so much to say. So it's just kind of been like jam-packed every episode. I'm recording for like over 2 hours. The editing, therefore, takes me twice as long, with, then some time restraints sprinkled in there, and like in difficult situations sprinkled in there, and suddenly it's taking me like twice as long, sometimes like 3 extra days than it normally would to get the episodes out. So in that regard, I'm sorry about all the delays. But anyways, so hopefully I'll touch more in depth about Big Brother this week. I do have quite a lot to say about like the lead up to the veto ceremony and everything. So hopefully, anyways, but that's my little spiel out of the way. Sorry. Okay. So quickly, I want to talk about the Bachelor in Paradise finale, and I say quickly because I don't have much to say. It was good. I've been up and down about the season. I'm really excited for the reunion. I think it's on YouTube. Like, they recorded it 2 days ago or something. Like, I think they recorded it like Tuesday or Wednesday. Like, they recorded it like very recently, and I believe it'll be out on Saturday. So by the time this podcast episode goes live, it'll probably already be out. So maybe I'll touch very briefly on the reunion. We'll see. But the finale was like, I don't want to say a nothing burger because a lot happened and there were interesting moments. And the whole build up to the big Sean Kat expose thing was obviously like that was building up all season. And it was interesting to finally see the fallout of that. I will say it's just like the thing that really annoyed me is like, I didn't hate the twist of suddenly you're maybe competing for money. But it feels like they couldn't commit to it. I didn't like the whole format of like you either split the money or you don't. But then it's like, I don't know. I didn't love that. It wasn't as cutthroat as like Bachelor Pad. I don't know. At the first rose ceremony, I know I said in my last episode that in terms of people that I thought, which was embarrassing, maybe not embarrassing, but it came out on Wednesday and the Bachelor in Paradise episode aired on Tuesday. So I'm like, that's so embarrassing for me that like I was talking about who I thought was gonna win last episode, and like, anyways, it's not that embarrassing. Nobody cares. But I thought Bailey and Jeremy had a good chance because of just how strong people went for Jeremy with the whole Jeremy and Brian thing. But interestingly enough, at the final rose ceremony, Alex and Andrew were safe, and then it was between the other couples. And Kathy and Keith were like, they were stepping up, but another couple was going to be on the chopping block. And Dale told Jeremy, like, I'm loyal to, like, people I'm loyal to, like, I'm not going to keep you. And it was just kind of like Jeremy didn't have the allies. It was just interesting. I can't remember who, but somebody else was like, I just think that the other couples are, like, stronger or whatever. So Jeremy and Bailey went home along with Kathy and Keith. And that kind of surprised me because I thought that they would have a better chance. But I guess they didn't, because to me, and maybe it's like an outsider's point of view, and they're probably like dynamics of like, if there's anything I've learned from watching live feeds on Big Brothers and then watching the edited show, is that capturing the interworkings of an alliance, or like, it's very difficult to condense. So I don't know the interworkings of like why, like, I don't know. And maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe it's not that deep, but like that did catch me off guard. But then in the final three couples were Alex and Andrew, Jess and Spencer, and Kat and Dale. That surprised me that Kat and Dale were in the final 3. But again, it's hard for me to know if like the outside whispers plagues my thoughts. It's also been interesting because I really didn't like Dale, and he's kind of won me over a little bit. Not like I'm not like an apologist, but anyways, the final challenge was them like carrying the weight, and then whoever fell. I enjoyed this. Kat and Dale fell first, and then Spencer and Jess fell, so Andrew and Alex won, and they were automatically going into the finals. And then between the other 2 couples, we find out they bring back the jury of their peers, which is why Sean is back, and everybody's back too, which I was glad that everybody was back except Sean. I was not happy to see Sean. I don't like him. I'm not even that particular. Anyways, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So they bring them back, and basically they get to vote on if they want one of the other couples to proceed into the finals as well. So basically, they have the choice to vote either Kat and Dale, Jess and Spencer, or vote neither. So if they vote neither, that means that they just want Alex and Andrew to go into the finals by themselves, and then they will get the chance to win the $500,000 in total. Whereas if you vote for another couple, it's like everybody could get the money. You'd be guaranteeing Andrew and Alex like the full prize, potentially. So there's like obviously whatever, they can choose the money, they can't, whatever. And this is when Sean has his little moment, and it was really distasteful to me. I don't like it. I just think, like, it was so unproductive. Do you really think that Kat and Dale are going to get more votes than, like, Jess and Spencer? Like, Jess and Spencer feel like the more obviously solid couple. Like, they're the only couple that got engaged, spoiler. And, like, I don't know. At that point, it wasn't, like, a competition thing. Or, like, it felt like it was genuinely just, like, he wanted to publicly humiliate Kat. He, like, announced it to the group as if he was making a toast. And it was just nasty. Like, it was nasty. Kat obviously had a reaction. And then Leia. So Leia, I was double checking how to pronounce her name because I really didn't want to pronounce her name incorrectly. I'm 99% sure it's Leia. If I'm pronouncing your name wrong, I'm so sorry. I don't even think she's going to listen to this, but, like, I feel horrible at the idea of not pronouncing somebody's name wrong. No, not pronouncing somebody's name right. I'm sorry. What was I even talking about? Okay, she even says to him at some point, like, I understand, like, wanting to share that information, but I don't know if you went about it the right way. And Sean is literally like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. Like, he had no remorse, or, like, he was like, how could I have done that better? You could have done that better by not doing it in such a showy way. Like, it was clearly a spectacle meant to humiliate her. That wasn't you genuinely trying to, like, bring up pertinent information to be like, hey, I don't think that they're a couple that should be in the finals. I don't know if she even really likes him. Like, I have doubts about her sincerity. Like, I don't even know. I don't even think that's your business at that point. It's like, you don't even have any allies to share that information with. Like, I don't even know. And again, I don't even think it was going to be that close of a vote between Spencer and Jess and Kat and Dale. Like, I just don't think so. A fun moment from this, Jeremy votes for neither. He votes for just Alex and Andrew to go in, which is fair. He's being petty. Like, they didn't save him, so he didn't save them. In the finals, though, are Alex and Andrew, and then Spencer and Jess. Spencer and Jess get engaged. They all get money. I don't really have much to say about, like, I found the whole ending of, like, will they choose, like, I found that anticlimactic, to be quite honest, whatever. I'm happy for them. Apparently, in the little updates, they said that, like, all four of the 5 final couples, Kathy and Keith, are the only ones that aren't together because they weren't together at all. But all of them are still together. So Kat and Dale, which caught me off guard. Spencer and Jess are still engaged. Jeremy and Bailey are together. And then Alex and Andrew. And Alex and Andrew, I'm really rooting for them. Like, I know I said in my last episode that they're, like, a newer couple, and, like, they were, but I will say that in the last couple of episodes, I really do feel like we saw a really beautiful, like, I really like their connection. I'm really rooting for them. I think that relationship therapist was so unnecessary about the way she talked with them. Like, they seem really sweet. His whole reaction to, like, obviously Alex needs the money more, and his reaction to her not taking the money for herself was so sweet. Like, I really like them. I'm very happy for them. I'm happy for everybody. I really like Bailey and Jeremy. I'm excited to see them. I've said this many times, but I feel like it's, like, at this point, they've been together for a while outside of the show. Like, they're in a real relationship. And people on the internet acting as if they know the interworkings of Jeremy's mind or his relationship dynamic with Bailey and whether he actually likes her or not, or, like, if he's a good guy. I feel like that's a little bit too far. Like, you do not know these people. It was obviously edited to be the most dramatic thing ever. I don't think that, like, the calling of I still think he made mistakes, but I think that a lot of relationships you can, like, in a stressful environment where the whole premise is you date a bunch of people. And I've said this, and I'll, like, reiterate it because I really do feel strongly about this. I don't think Jeremy's hesitation or Jeremy's like curiosity about Susie was because of his feelings for Bailey. Like, I don't think it was about him not liking Bailey the same amount. I think it was about Jeremy wanting to have his options and thinking he was going to, because he probably thought that Susie would accept Justin's rose, and then being like, damn, I don't have another option. And then double whammy, she went on a date the next day. Like, I think it was like an emotional reaction of him being like, I'm not getting to explore my options. And now she's exploring her options. Like, it really feels like as soon as they were like locked in, like, I don't know. He had a few, I don't really, whatever. I like Bailey and I want to root for people's happiness. And the parts of their dynamic we saw, they seem cute and like good together. So I'm wishing them the best. It wasn't like a relationship that I like it wasn't like Kat and Riley from Big Brother 27, where it's like there was like a concerning dynamic. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm rooting for Bailey and Jeremy. I'm also rooting for Alex and Andrew, Spencer and Jess. Like, I'm rooting for all of them. I just I wanted to defend Jeremy and Bailey more because I feel like they have more hate on them. Kat and Dale, maybe I'm a hater. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. Maybe they'll get married. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out more at the reunion. I don't know. 9 times out of 10, I'm like, I don't really know how long a Bachelor couple is going to last. And I feel pretty strongly actually about the other ones. But for some reason, Kat and Dale, like, maybe the outside noise is getting to me, but there's just something about their dynamic where I'm like, I don't know if you're that compatible. It really, I don't think I can move past. And it's not up to me to move past this. It's Kat's business. So, like, I'm not saying that Kat shouldn't be in this relationship. But in terms of me, like, rooting for them, I really am having, like, I'm really hung up on, like, it's crazy to me how Jeremy, people are, like, and maybe I just haven't seen the Dale discourse, but I've seen so much discourse about people genuinely being like, Jeremy doesn't like Bailey at all. It feels really, really odd that people are like assuming that they understand his intention and his feelings for this woman. Like, I don't like that, the way people talk about Jeremy and Bailey's dynamic. Maybe there is Dale discourse that I just haven't seen, but I just feel like, I don't know. Dale's comment about them having different upbringings, like, really, really upsets me. I hope that he's apologized for that and they've worked through it, but, like, that really bothers me. I'm sorry. I think it was really out of pocket and it was really, really rude. And the fact that that's literally an insecurity of hers and she had, like, a difficult upbringing, I imagine that being thrown in somebody's face would be really hard. But that's all I have to say. Happy for the happy couples. I'm rooting for everybody. Well, what a successful season of Paradise. Nothing for the Goldens. That's so sad. Anyways. Okay, moving on to the summer I turned pretty. I also don't feel like I have a ton to say about this, honestly, just because the episode, there wasn't much plot. It was a lot of, like, fallout, like, conversations, but it didn't feel like a lot happened, if that makes sense. Because basically it was a lot of, like, the aftermath, and we saw a lot of, like, Jeremiah's feelings, and then Belly trying to, like, Belly's first night in Paris, which was, like, lackluster for me, in my opinion. Just in the sense that I wish we had gotten more. I understand the fallout of Jeremiah. It just genuinely felt like, and I don't know, I'm sure somebody did the math, the amount of screen time, but it feels like Belly being in Paris was, like, even they could have cut out some of the conversations with, like, Adam and Laurel, that conversation they had. Like, that wasn't necessary. I wanted more of Belly in Paris. Anyways, the way Jeremiah reacted, I don't want to go on a I hate Jeremiah rant. That's not pleasant for me, but I don't like Jeremiah, and I've said that many times on this podcast. If you like Jeremiah, then this is probably not the place for you, because I don't like him. Like, I don't like him. I really don't. The whole way he, acted after, I understand being heartbroken. I'm not trying to vilify him for having emotions. It's just a level of, like I couldn't deal with it. It bothered me the amount of time that we spent on, like, them trying to sober him up and, like, make him feel better. Like, I really didn't like that. I'm sorry. I didn't like it. It bothered me. Conrad went to help and everybody was super mean to Conrad for trying to help. It's like, I don't mean to be mean. Like, I understand that in life, this isn't, like, a uncommon thing that people become scapegoats, but it feels really frustrating that everybody is blaming Conrad, because at the end of the day, if somebody tells you, I still love you, and you're confident that you're like, that is not why the marriage didn't happen. They weren't meant to get married. They weren't mature enough. They weren't ready enough to get married. Like, they shouldn't have gotten married. They weren't in a place to do that. So it just feels a little bit like all of the defiance, people constantly being like, I don't think this is a good idea. Belly having hesitations. It wasn't just Conrad saying this, okay? And I feel like I need to repeat myself every time, but it's like, think that this was wrong of him all you want. But if Jeremiah hadn't slept with somebody else in Cabo, then none of this would have happened at all in the first place either, because that's what prompted Conrad to tell Belly about his feelings. So it's like, I don't know. It was just a lot of Jeremiah. It's like I didn't need to see him with Taylor and Steven. I didn't need to then see him also with Laurel and being mean to Laurel, and like his conversation with Laurel really, really angered me, because I don't think his anger was justified. Like, I think even if she had been completely unsupportive and like really, really mean to him, I don't think that justifies the way he treated her, like the way he spoke to her. But I don't even think his anger was justified, because like the way he kept positioning it was like, you should be so happy that I'm not marrying your precious daughter. Like, you didn't even want me to marry her. And it's like, it wasn't because she didn't want you specifically to marry her. Like, it wasn't something about you. She didn't say anything about like where you are in your like what kind of a partner you can be to Belly. Something that a lot of parents, when they express hesitations about their kids getting married, probably express of like, you can't financially support my daughter. You're not mature enough to do this. That wasn't even, like, Laurel never did any personal digs at him or, like, in any way communicated that she didn't want Belly to be with Jeremiah or marry Jeremiah. So Jeremiah lashing out at Laurel and being like, you didn't even want us to be together. It's like, no, she didn't want you to get married at this age and this quickly, which is a valid concern. And every step of the way, the fact that you haven't understood and acknowledged why that's a valid concern of hers just proves more and more that you were too immature to get married. Like, it really bothered me, because it's like, you can be hurt by the fact that Laurel wasn't supportive, but why are you painting Laurel out to be like somebody who was praying for your downfall? Like, she wasn't. And speaking of praying for people's downfalls, Conrad sure was. And I don't even care. Because, okay, I feel like people really describe not everybody, but I think there's a subsect, there's a group of the Summer I Turned Pretty watchers that like take everything Conrad does and they like describe it in like the worst light. Because yes, Conrad's saying that like he broke him and he like had prayed for that. That is a horrible thing to say, but the context of that, like the subtext, what Conrad is actually saying is that he prayed for Belly to not marry somebody else. He's saying he loved Belly so much that he prayed that he wouldn't lose her. And he's recognizing now that in that desire, in that prayer, in that hope of what he wanted, and the relief he's feeling now because something that he was so afraid of happening didn't happen, he realizes now that it broke his brother, and he feels guilty that he feels good at all. You know what I mean? Like, why is that so fucking hard for people to understand? He's expressing guilt. Like, he's not saying like, he's like, I feel horrible because this was my best case scenario. I didn't want him marrying her. And I feel really horrible that I hoped and prayed for that, and now he's so devastated. People frame it as this sinister thing of like, he said that he was praying for his brother's downfall. He's a horrible brother. That's not what he's saying. He's saying that I so badly didn't want this to happen, and now I feel horrible because I shouldn't be happy about a situation. I shouldn't have wanted a situation where my brother was this devastated. Jeremiah, on the other hand, is so excited to like throw something in Conrad's face and be like, see, Belly, talk to me. She didn't pick you. She didn't pick me, but she didn't pick you either. Like, the way people just like, some people describe Conrad's behavior as like vindictive or like trying to undermine Jeremiah or not caring for Jeremiah. I'm like, that's what Jeremiah literally did this episode by trying to like throw it back in, like, she didn't pick you. That Conrad is literally saying that he feels horrible that he wanted this situation because it's hurting Jeremiah so much. He isn't saying, I prayed for Jeremiah to be broken. He's saying, I prayed for this situation. And now that Jeremiah is broken over it, I feel horrible. I feel horrible that I even wanted this, but I loved her so much that I didn't want her to be with him. Jeremiah's conversation to Belly, like genuinely this whole episode, I was just so deeply angry at Jeremiah and his reactions to things. And it just really baffles me, like, sorry, not to get into all of the discourse, but it really baffles me and honestly angers me that Conrad's like mess ups and like lashing out and the way that he was mean or hurtful or cold or distant or whatever because he was struggling is constantly painted by a group of people on the internet as like him being like mean and like, but then Jeremiah gets to yell, gets to curse, gets to be horrible to other people. And those same group of people who like vilify Conrad for the way he acted at prom are like so easy to forgive Jeremiah. If it is not an excuse, if Conrad's mother dying and him being depressed over it and struggling is not an excuse for him to have been distant and unkind to Belly when they were in a relationship, then what on earth makes you think that Jeremiah being hurt, feeling like he was abandoned is a justification? Even if, and this is something that I think people don't realize or people don't, whatever, your feelings can be valid. Jeremiah has all the right in the world to be upset, to be hurt, to be angry. Just because your feelings are valid doesn't mean your reactions are. Doesn't mean that your reactions are proportionate to the situation or even appropriate. Because as angry, somebody can hurt me deeply and I can feel deeply angry, but that doesn't mean that I have the right to yell at them, that I have the right to treat them poorly because they hurt me deeply. That makes nothing better, and it's not an effective way to deal with your emotions. So yes, his anger could be justified. His feelings can be justified. His actions are not. His actions are not healthy. They're not effective. They're not good communication. Just because somebody is hurt, just because somebody wronged you, or just because somebody was wronged, doesn't give them an excuse to then treat people poorly around them. Like, I'm sorry. That is just my perspective. His feelings can be valid, and that doesn't mean that the way he is behaving because of them is. And that's my opinion on Jeremiah. And I just find it very, very frustrating that people are constantly like, Conrad's issues are not an excuse for the way he treated Belly. He was horrible to her. But then when Jeremiah is horrible, it's like constantly excused by those same group of people who vilify Conrad. Like, it genuinely baffles me. I would never get on this podcast and be like, Conrad was a perfect boyfriend to Belly. I can admit that he was cold, that he didn't communicate, that he withdrew. I can literally admit to Conrad's faults. It's very, very confusing to me the way some people give Jeremiah all the grace in the world, but then are so harsh on Conrad. That's just, sorry, not to, I get into the discourse every week, but like, whatever. Sometimes I get into the discourse on TikTok, but honestly, not that I'm like, that I have like a ton of viewers on TikTok or anything, but just by the nature of the algorithm, more people tend to like end up watching my TikTok videos than probably listen to this podcast. So this feels like a safer space to really complain. Not that I don't on TikTok, because I do, but I really like, I hate to be like, I don't like when Belly Jeremiah fans say this because it feels really, really annoying. But this is a safe space for me to say that. I really don't like it. Like, it's a very annoying double standard people have, where it's like, maybe this is a unpopular opinion, but like almost every instance that Conrad did something hurtful and was like unkind, I can point to Jeremiah doing that exact same thing or something very similar, and it being talked about differently by people. And also I can point to things that Jeremiah did in ways that Jeremiah treated Belly that Conrad never did. Like, I don't know. But anyways, Belly in Paris, she like, first, oh my God, this pissed me off when she goes to Paris and they're like, yeah, we don't have a spot open for you. I'm like, you can't make a spot. Like, I understand the only thing that I would, and I don't know, because I didn't do study abroad. I had a cat in college and my parents were living abroad. So I was like, I didn't have anybody I could leave my cat with. So like, the only thing I would understand is like, financially, and like maybe they can't, because I'm like, why can't they open a spot? Like one extra spot isn't that big of a deal. But like maybe it's something about like finances, deposits, visas, maybe study abroad programs only have so much allocated in the budget for like the cost of, I don't know if, I imagine that a school like sponsors you and covers your student visa fees if you're doing study abroad. I truly have no clue how that works. But like I can imagine that would be something. It's like we don't have the funds allocated for another student visa, or like we're only allowed to sponsor this many student visas. Like that would be like while on paper I'm like they can't just let her in. Like one extra person in a class isn't going to be crazy. I do understand budget wise. Like there's a reason things are planned in advance and they have wait lists in colleges and stuff. It's like if you don't take your spot, then somebody else wants to and will. So it's like I understand that, but it did bother me that she had called and they had said, yes, you have a spot. Like I think what gets me is not even like, if Belly had shown up and they hadn't like told her you have a spot and she had been like, can I get a spot? That would have been a little bit like, I'd be like, okay, like whatever. I get it. Logically, they can't do it. But I feel like if like these are kind of extenuating circumstances, that I'd be like, okay, we'll see if we can do anything. Like if there's anything that we can help you. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But I'm not in charge of any logistical things like that where it would require me. Like, I have no idea the logistics behind that. I mean, not that the show is particularly realistic. So, like, who knows if she'll end up, like, if she ends up staying in Paris and it seems that, like, she's there for New Year's and this is August, maybe September. I think August is when the wedding was supposed to be. So it's like at least 6 months, which a tourist visa is not. Maybe that'll never get addressed and it'll just be like, oh yeah, she found a way. I don't know. We'll see the next episode. There was not enough. I really liked the friends she met in the club. I really liked her getting her backpack back. Like I liked the second, like I liked the end of Belly's time in Paris. The beginning really made me sad with like the study abroad and then her bag got stolen. And it was just a lot of cutting back and forth to like people back in Cousins and a lot of the Jeremiah fallout to then just like Belly running around Paris. And I was like, why can't we, like, I wish we had more of Belly in Paris. I feel like I started talking about this, but I genuinely lost my train of thought. When Belly calls Jeremiah, this phone call to me, like Jeremiah just genuinely, the way he, oh, okay, I didn't end up speaking about this because I was talking about, like, this is what prompted my whole, like, your feelings can be valid, but that doesn't mean, like, your reactions are. Because I think that Jeremiah has the right to be hurt, but it's like, that doesn't mean that you have a free pass to do whatever you want because you're in pain or because somebody hurt you. So, like, yes, Jeremiah's hurt. It was a very hurtful thing that your wedding ended, your 4-year relationship ended. You obviously, like, you want to be together, but you don't have the right. It's not okay. Just because you're hurt, that doesn't mean that it's okay for you to, like, lash out at Belly. And the whole, like, really, like, begging her to come back and be with him, and then her being like, I don't even know who I am. And again, this is my biggest issue with Jeremiah, is he centers himself time and time and time again. What do you mean somebody is telling you that they don't even know who you are, and you say, I'll tell you every day who you are? What the fuck is wrong with you? If somebody told me, especially like, not that I'm not young now, but I feel like if I was in my early 20s, you know, if somebody at my age or somebody in college was like, I don't know who I am, I wouldn't be like, I'll tell you who you are. It's giving Sue Sylvester. I know he didn't mean it that way, but it's just like, that's weird. It's like if somebody doesn't know who they are, they feel lost. The solution, because you know, the reason he wants her to come back, the reason he wants to have her there, the reason he wants to tell her every day who she is not because he thinks that will help her. It's not about her in that moment. He wants her back, so he's saying, come back. I'll find you for yourself. And she's like, that's literally not the point. Like, it bothered me. It really bothered me the whole way he talked to her. And then him being like, don't fucking talk to me again. It's just like, I don't know. And I saw somebody say this on Twitter. And you know what? I really agree with it. But it's like, Jeremiah immediately, when he heard from Belly and that Belly wasn't coming back, like, getting his shit together and getting out of bed really makes it feel like a lot of the moping was like a performance. Like, he thought that she would come back. And maybe, I'm not saying, maybe it was genuinely just like a realization of like if you want to look at it more charitably, it's like he was a bit in denial. And that was like a moment of like, okay, yeah, she's not coming back. This isn't going back to the way it was. Maybe that was it, but it still just feels really, really icky to me. I don't know. I don't like it. Because then it's like, and I don't know, because I've never been in a relationship. And so like, I don't know. But it's like, there have been moments in my life where I've like been very devastated that something didn't work out. And I've like had some kind of hope and I'm like, maybe it'll work out. And getting closure on that and getting like a finality of like, it's not happening. And I don't know. Maybe people are different. But like, if I was that depressed and then I found out she's not coming back, like that I wouldn't immediately just like bounce back and like be fine and then be super like I really don't like Jeremiah. That phone call really upset me. Like, first it was his anger towards Laurel, which again, he can be frustrated towards Laurel. He can feel like Laurel wasn't supportive of him and was praying for his downfall and like didn't want them to be together. And that also doesn't justify the way he talked to Laurel. The way he talked to Laurel was disrespectful and out of pocket and unnecessary and ineffective. Jeremiah is not a good communicator, like genuinely at all. It really just baffles me, the critiques people have of Conrad, because I'm like, literally, I hear you, I see that. Why are you Team Jeremiah then? If you have trouble, if you take issue with the way Conrad communicates, you're fine with how Jeremiah communicates, though? Like, that's where people lose me. It's like, think that Conrad and Belly shouldn't rekindle all you want. Think that Conrad is weird for confessing to his brother's fiance. Think all of those things. But then it's like, but Jeremiah dated, like, literally, like, a month after, like, 2 months after they had broken up, and a month after your mother died, you started dating your brother's ex. So it's like, Jeremiah is much weirder than Conrad ever was. Sorry, that's just my 2 cents. But I'm excited for the next 2 episodes. I'm a little anxious, but trying to hold out hope. And you know what? How lucky am I that even when the show is pissing me off, it's making me feel a lot. It's making me think a lot. I'm grateful in that regard. But yeah, I think that's all I wanted to talk about. Steven and Taylor, glad that they got together. Steven found out about Cabo. He said, who the fuck is Lacey Brown? I was like, okay, once again, reheating Yellow Jackets nachos. Like, who the fuck is Lottie Matthews? Lacey Brown wishes. Okay, Lacey Brown, with peace and love to her, she seems like a beautiful woman. She could never start a cult. She couldn't start a cult. Not that starting a cult is a good thing, okay? But I will defend Lottie Matthews' cult. I don't think cult... I don't need to go on a Lottie Matthews tangent. Anyways, sorry. Moving on to Big Brother 27, Week 8. So I talked about this briefly at the end of my last episode. Kiana won the HOH. In the actual HOH episode, we see the fallout of Kat's eviction. It's mostly just Lauren being sad. Lauren and DR saying that she's tired of being scared, which I did unfortunately find funny because there's a lot of jokes on Big Brother Twitter about Lauren being scared because a lot of things scare Lauren. It's really interesting. You know, I think honestly, it's more anxiety than like genuine, than like fear necessarily. Because how does Lauren watch so much horror and is like so scared all the time? I'm like, I really think she just has maybe not undiagnosed. I feel like she has anxiety that she's like labeling being afraid, because I don't think she's afraid. I think she's anxious and nervous, and then she's saying she's afraid. Anyways, not to psychoanalyze Lauren, but it's like, I don't feel like you're afraid. I feel like you're anxious. Maybe anxiety and fear are connected. I'm not a doctor. I don't even know. Anyways, that was just funny to me because there are a lot of memes of like Lauren being scared. So I was like, I mean, let's hope. Sorry. I like Lauren. I'm very torn on Lauren. Lauren's aligned with people that I don't like, but I find her to be an interesting player. I also like I don't know. Maybe it's just, I'm holding on to like potential with Lauren. Like maybe she won't actually like whatever. But in my mind, I'm like, there's something there with Lauren. I'm holding out hope. I mean, besides Rachel, she is the only other person who hasn't been nominated. And they both made it to jury. I mean, obviously, because they weren't nominated. But anyways, Keanu won. We see the fallout of that. We see people obviously turning on Vince. Keanu's like mad at Vince. That doesn't last very long. I have so much to say about Keanu. Sorry, I'll get into it. But we see, then they watched some, like they brought on some videos, and then after was the HOH comp, which was just like questions about the videos that they had seen. Maybe they did, but from my, like, I don't know, it seemed to me like they just saw the videos that night immediately after the, and I don't know, but it really, I like it when they start showing the videos overnight and people have more time to study. But whatever. Will's out first. A lot of people get out, and then in the end, it's like Lauren's there, Keanu's there, Kelly's there, Morgan's there. Vince is obviously rooting for Morgan, because Morgan definitely won't nominate him. And then in like the final two are Keanu and Kelly, and they each guess different things, and Keanu's right, so Keanu won the HOH, which I already knew. I mean, duh. And there's like a lot of buildup of like who he's gonna nominate, and obviously Vince is a name, but not because he wants Vince out apparently, but because he wants to teach Vince a lesson. He's like that Hiram. I'm not gonna pretend with her because she needs to learn this lesson. Like that's what Keanu was giving. I found it to be annoying, but whatever. Not that I'm glad that Vince was on the block, but the whole like I'm doing this to teach you like because I'm mad that you keep nominating and like getting or nominating our allies and evicting our allies and like not being loyal to us. So I'm going to be disloyal to you and nominate. It was just funny to me. Vince really does not want to be a nominee. Obviously, he cries, he begs. That night on feeds was so funny. When Keanu won, I was like, great, fuck. All the people I like are going to be in danger. And then he was like, I'm going to nominate Mickey, Morgan, and Vince. And I was like, okay, slay, actually. Ashley and Rachel, safe. Ava, safe. Slay. I was so happy. Of those three, and I said this when they were the three nominees a couple weeks ago, of the three, I would want Morgan to stay the most. And, okay, there's a lot of, like, discourse, because later, not to jump ahead, but it's a necessary thing to say to get into something I have to say. Anyways, later in the week, Ashley and Keanu get into a fight, and there's a lot of discourse by the people who are Keanu defenders and really like Keanu about, like, Ashley being out of line because Keanu's like why would she imply that Keanu's like a misogynist, like that's so out of pocket. And I have something I want to say about this, because yes, it's true that the people who respond to that by being like, are you watching feeds, because it's very clear on feeds that he talks down to women, like the edited show doesn't show all of it. That is true, but I also think, and maybe this is just me, but I think even if the only thing I was receiving was the edited show, that wouldn't be that crazy of an accusation to me, because I think that his whole approach and perspective on Vinny and Morgan and being like, Vince has betrayed me multiple times. He's gone against the best interest of the people that I thought we were aligned with multiple times. Him viewing that, and instead of being like, he's slimy, he's a snake, I can't work with him, I can't trust him, he blames Morgan. He blames Morgan for Vince betraying him instead of maybe thinking that Vince isn't that loyal to him. That within itself is misogyny, to assume that a man is doing something wrong because a woman is influencing him. It's like, no, he's a grown man who made his own decisions, and he's just not that good of an ally to you. It's not because he has Morgan in his ear. Like, yes, Morgan influenced his decisions, but at the end of the day, Vince is a very sneaky, like, devious player, and it's not because of Morgan's influence, which is literally like proved, like that's literally proven by the whole veto back and forth that happens later in the week. Like, it's not about what Morgan wants. Like, did Morgan's like input get into his head? Yes. Like, obviously what Morgan said about keeping Rachel got into his head, but that's not why he betrayed you or is sneaky. He's a very self-interested player, and he will turn on anybody if it suits him. Even Morgan, his closest ally, who he has some kind of like human chemistry even Morgan, which like they are so close, he was willing and open to the idea of convincing her to use the veto on him in a way like to completely screw her over if it would guarantee his safety. Like, he is not a good ally. And I'm not saying like I'm not saying anything to his character, because I don't think that the way he's playing Big Brother, that's not impacting the way that I view him as a human being. I don't know him. But it's just really, like, that within itself of being like, it's Morgan's fault that Vince betrayed me is misogynistic. That is a double standard, that you are assuming that this man who's betrayed you time and time again is only doing so because of a woman. God forbid he make his own decisions and is just sneaky. Like, oh, if I get her out of this house, he will no longer be swayed by her. She's like, that's weird. That's weird, and I don't like that at all in the first place. I think it's a valid thing to say, hey, I want Morgan gone, so I'm going to put you on the block because you would use the veto on her. That's understandable and that's gameplay. But implying that the whole reason that Vince has been a bad ally to you is because Morgan's in his head, and if Morgan was gone, then he would be fine, it's not him, is gross to me. But anyways, and Keanu and Rachel, I can't even track their friendship, but they have a conversation before nominations, and he like guarantees that she's safe. I also don't remember the exact verbiage, but he does say something about Ashley. That comes up later because he argues that he wasn't saying that she would never go on the block during the week. Whatever. I'll get into it. The nominees are Mickey, Vince, and Morgan. On Saturday, for playing in the veto, Lauren's name was picked, and then Keanu got house guest choice and he picked Kelly. So playing in the veto were Keanu, Morgan, Mickey, Vince, Lauren, and then Kelly. And we see a lot of like build up in the edit, obviously, of like who would change noms with the veto. And Lauren is a name that like people, like when Kelly and Lauren are the two picked, Vince is like, this is best case scenario, because at this point Keanu's like, I don't want you going home, which is just annoying to me. Like, I was really, again, it's this insane like double standard and forgiveness that he has for Vince, who's actively like betraying him, that he just like doesn't hold other people, especially the women in the house, to that same standard. Like, he doesn't give them the grace he gives Vince. So at this point he's like, if I get the veto, I'll probably use it on Vince. Lauren obviously would use it on Vince, so like that is somebody that he's excited got picked. Kelly, on the other hand, she probably wouldn't use it on Vince. She's like, thank God, a little bit more logical about the fact that Vince is betraying them. And neither Kelly nor Keanu have great game sense, but this instance is a good example of the slightly better game sense that Kelly has. She's viewing Vince betraying her as like, he's betraying me. Why am I going to keep working with him? Whereas Keanu's like, he's betraying me, but if I let him know, if I punish him enough, he'll recognize that he's betraying me and he'll get his shit together. Kelly's smart enough to be like, he's burned the bridge. He doesn't value our our allyship enough to, he doesn't value our game relationship enough to like nurture it and like be loyal to me. So why am I going to in turn be loyal to him? Like, Kelly is not going to use the veto, which I liked. I was happy about that. But the veto competition, it's like a stacking competition. It's charcuterie board themed, and Angela's back to host it, which was super cool. Loved the set, the whole costumes. They were like, Belly was in Paris, so were the Big Brother contestants, because everybody was dressed as if they were like dressed like they were in Paris. The costumes are so good. Like, they're so good. And every few minutes, like, their stacks would be knocked over, and then eventually they got more and more time in between the, like, attackers knocking over their charcuterie boards. And Morgan won. And I was super happy when I found out that Morgan won, and watching the comp, I was super proud of her. I'm like, Morgan's been wanting to win, and this is such a, like, perfect opportunity for her to win. Of the 3 nominees, she was the one who I wanted off the block the most. In my ideal scenario, honestly, somebody who wouldn't change the nominees would have won, because I would have preferred the nominees not change, just because while I like Morgan, I'm not particularly rooting against any of the 3 original nominees the way that I was rooting against, like, Riley or Zay, for example. Like, I wasn't particularly rooting against any of them, but there are people that I like more and cared about more who I didn't want being replacement nominees, to be quite honest. So I honestly, my ideal scenario for me personally, I would have wanted, I don't know, Kelly to win. She wouldn't have changed noms. That would have been my ideal scenario. But if one of the 3 had to change, I am glad that Morgan got the veto. And this is when I have to go on a little rant, okay? Because it genuinely angered me, okay? There was a lot of build-up before Morgan, like, before the veto ceremony on Monday. There was a lot of build-up through the weekend, a lot of back and forth of, like, this plan of Morgan potentially using the veto on Vince, and then the replacement nominee would be Lauren. And this angered me to a degree that I can't explain. I tweeted about it, and I think it's, like, my most liked tweet ever, which cracks me up, because I didn't think that tweet was gonna, you know how sometimes when people go viral on TikTok, they're like, I didn't expect that to get so many views. I post every TikTok thinking it's gonna get a bunch of views. But I don't have that experience on Twitter, because genuinely, I don't get that many likes on Twitter. Like, the one other Big Brother tweet that I had blow up was because Brendan and Rachel, he quote tweeted it. So, like, it got a lot of traction that way. But, like, I don't really have, like, tweets even with the hashtag that, like, get a lot of likes. So, like, that really caught me off guard. But, like, it genuinely angered me to a degree that I can't explain. Like, the mere conversation that Morgan, who is on the block, should use the veto on somebody else who's on the block, like, that pissed me off to no end. I'm like, why is this even a conversation? That's a bad move. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, please don't do that. And it seemed like Morgan was actually considering it, because Keanu was telling her, like, it would be Lauren 100%. And that was the only way Morgan would consider it, was, like, if Lauren went up on the block, because she was thinking, this way Vince gets to stay, I probably stay over Lauren, so this is better case scenario. Like, that, I guess, is what Morgan was thinking. But I really was like, I don't know. And obviously Keanu, the whole entire time, the whole plan was to just trick her into using her veto on Vince, and then having the replacement nominee actually be Ashley, and just, like, go back on this plan that he had. That was the whole scheme. And Vince and Keanu had talked about it before, but then when Keanu brings Vince into the conversation with Morgan, Vince, like, pretends as if he, like, and it was all icky to me. And I understand it's the game, and, like, do I think, as angry as it would have made me, and as much as I would have really been mad at Morgan for doing it, if Keanu was, like, a manipulative enough player to, like, let's say he actually did get Morgan to use her veto on Vince, and then he just nominated Ashley, and then it was Morgan, Mickey, and Ashley on the block with Vince safe, which at this point Keanu had decided he wanted Vince safe. He was just trying to teach him a lesson, which is really stupid. I've said it so many times. Don't nominate somebody who you're not 100% fine with going home. That's not how you teach somebody a lesson, okay? Next time, have-nots are a thing, and throw him under the bus. Get him to be a have-not. I don't even know. Don't cook food for him one night. Like, I mean, not the Keanu cooks, but I'm like, there are other ways to, like, teach somebody a lesson. Or even I think Kelly's doing a decent job of, like, getting the message across. Like, I don't think Vince at all thinks that Kelly is a number for him. Like, Kelly at this point, like, what do you mean you're teaching him a lesson? No, you're not. The whole thing bothered me. That, like, Keanu even was pushing for one of his nominees to get off the block because he really didn't want this nominee going home. It's like, you shouldn't have nominated him. And then, like, the mere idea, and again, it would have been, like, cutthroat, ruthless gameplay if Keanu had managed to pull that off. Apologies for any change in audio. I'm recording this the next day, like the rest of this the next day, because it was like 3 a.m. and I found myself becoming like incoherent because of how tired I was. Sorry about that. Okay, so I think I left off saying that if it had worked out on Keanu's part, where he could have tricked Morgan to use the veto on Vince and then screw her over by nominating Ashley and not Lauren like he had promised, that would have been a very devious, interesting plan. I wouldn't have liked the move because I wouldn't have been happy with the outcome, to be honest. And I would have really, honestly, it would be more interesting, or not more interesting, but I would like it more if it was like Morgan wasn't also on the block. Like if that happened, I would just be so angry at the stupidity that Morgan would have displayed that it wouldn't have even been like, I'm glad that Keanu accomplished that, because it would piss me off so badly, if that makes sense. So in that regard, I wasn't particularly like, I want this to happen, if that makes sense. I think that's where I left off. But yeah, Vince, I never know what to call him, but I feel weird calling him Vinny. Like we're not that close. We're not close at all. He doesn't know who I am. I always think about, and you know what, I never thought about this before, because like genuinely with other shows that I've talked about, I've never had anybody, because I stumbled into like Quinn from Big Brother 26, like following me and coming on my podcast, like I feel a little bit more hesitant about like, I'm like, they might see this actually for real. Like nobody from the Bachelor franchise is ever going to listen to my podcast and like care what I think. But I'm like, what if somebody actually from the season ends up watching my podcast? Like I would love to do an interview with somebody from this season, genuinely. Will that happen? Who knows? I would love to do an interview again. I got really lucky with Quinn. I genuinely, I was like, would you come on my podcast? And he was like, yeah, of course. And then he followed up and was like, when are we doing your podcast? And I was like, oh my God, he actually, like, it was very kind of him, because it's like, I say things like that, and I wouldn't have held him to it or been upset at all if like he didn't end up following through with that. So it was just like super kind of him. But now I'm like, I have a level of awareness where I'm like, maybe people who are on the show might see what I say about them. And like I try to be pretty fair in my critiques of people. Like I'm not worried about like, anyways, I went on that unnecessary tangent because I made a joke about knowing Vinny. I don't know him. I don't really care enough about Vince to dislike him. Like if there's anything, I don't know if it's a skill, but if there's something that I'm proud of myself in, is that I'm able to, for the most part, because Big Brother is so all-consuming and I'm watching them so often, there is a level of parasocial that I have with Big Brother players that I don't have as much with other shows. But I feel like I'm pretty proud of my ability to separate myself from these people and have like an understanding that like I don't know these people, or like who, or like not condemn them or judge their character, or like assume that I know who these people are based off of the show. I think with Big Brother it's a little bit harder because we get a lot more. So I feel like I have a pretty decent view of who these people actually are. But I do always like to think of like there are a lot of people who make comments about like, I would be concerned if I was in Vince's real life because of how easy he manipulates people. And it's like, I'm glad and I'm proud of myself that I'm able to have an understanding where I don't view somebody's deception in this game as a character flaw or as an indication of how they are in their day-to-day life. Like, I think as much as Big Brother strays from other reality shows in that it's not like edited in the same way, if you're watching the feeds, you get a lot deeper context into all of the actions that are condensed into the show. So it's not as much of like, it's an edit, we don't know how much we're getting of them because we have more than any other show. But there is still a level of understanding that I try to have, that while obviously there are some lines that you shouldn't cross regardless of the circumstances, I think I try to have an understanding that regardless of like, that this is just who these people are in this one situation. And that doesn't mean that that's how they are in their day-to-day life. And I would argue people a lot of people probably are very heavily impacted by being in the Big Brother house and act very different to their real lives when they're on the show. So I don't like to assume that I know who people are based off of how they treat, like how they act in this game, because I feel like real life isn't a game. Like real life, your goal isn't to betray the people closest to you, but like in the game of Big Brother, regardless of how much you care about somebody, if they're in the way of you winning the money, then you voting them out is smart. Obviously having allies is important, but you know what I mean? It's like in real life, Steve from Big Brother 17, for example, he seems like a really nice guy. And I don't think that in his real life he would want to like betray somebody that he cared about, like Vanessa. But like in the game of Big Brother, he was smart enough to recognize that it would be hard to win against, like, that Vanessa was like a really good player and he needed to get her out. So it wasn't like, you know what I mean? So I just don't hold people, like the cutthroat decisions people make or the way people behave in this environment. I try not to make judgments about who people are in their day-to-day life because this is a weird environment. I don't know. I try to have a lot of compassion for people on reality TV because I think about myself in like the worst environments I've been in, or like not even if the environment was particularly bad, but it just wasn't like healthy for me. And I think about the versions of myself that I've been in moments, and obviously it's still my responsibility to manage how I'm feeling and like not obviously, but I don't know. I try to have a lot of compassion for the fact that people can act really weird in really, really intense situations. So I don't even, anyways, I don't even remember what I went on that tangent. I guess the thing that prompted this was that while Vince's behavior was quite devious and he does bother me in terms of like it does bother me. I'm also not going to make judgments about who he is as a character and assume that he's like a bad guy or that he's a sneaky, manipulative guy. Now, obviously, there's like personal stuff, and I really don't like talking about the relationship dynamics of it all unless it impacts the game. Like if a showmance is like explicit and it's obviously impacting the game, then I'll talk about it. Or honestly, if I'm rooting for them, like during Big Brother 25, I did talk about Amara Corey because I really liked them. But like in terms of Vince and Morgan, I really don't feel comfortable talking about it because it feels, and I know obviously it's not private because they're like, it's being broadcast to TV, but like it just feels like something that I really, because it's not just like they're developing feelings for each other, there are outside factors. It all just, I don't want to talk about it. I really don't. And if people, like, I'm not saying people shouldn't talk about it. I just really don't care to talk about it because I obviously don't condone cheating, but I also am like not going to, I don't care enough. Like, I'm not a relationship podcast. I'm not like, that's not my gig. Okay. I want to talk about their gameplay. That's his business to deal with outside of the house. That's his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend's business to deal with outside of the house. I don't want to dissect it. It feels weird. At this point, if they've crossed lines, again, that's not up to me to say. That was a roundabout way of talking about it, but I really don't want to talk about it. Anyways, but I will say Vince, like the way he was very sneaky and very like pretending with Morgan when Keanu brought, like, Morgan and Keanu were having a conversation, and then Keanu brought Vince into the room to like further talk about this plan, and he was acting like he didn't know when he did know, and that was part of the plan, is upsetting. Like that did really piss me off. And I think Vince is a very devious player, and it's hard for me to know. It's hard for me to know because it's like, is his cozying up to Morgan genuinely strategy? Does he genuinely feel something for her? I don't know. But I will say, as much as I don't like it and it upsets me, I do on some level respect the dedication to the game. Like the fact that Morgan is his closest ally. They have a very touchy-feely relationship that maybe he's threatening his relationship at home with. And he is still cares more about like making it through the game than any, like, I can respect the hustle. Like the fact that he would like lie to Morgan and do whatever he can to get, I gotta give it to him. I've said that I want people who like want to play and want to win at all costs, and he does. I think the thing that gets me about Vince, and I've said this before, is just, and I think somebody said this in a DR, maybe it was Keanu, but Vince will like betray you and then cry and make himself the victim of him betraying you. And it's like, you could have just not betrayed me. How about don't betray me? How about don't go against your word? How about don't be sneaky? Like he hurts you and then he victimizes himself in hurting you. And it's like, it's really annoying. And I have no issue with people crying. I have no issue with people being emotional. But it's like a weird guilt tripping thing he does where it's like, he betrayed you and then he like cries and whines. I would respect Vince a lot more if in the DRs he was like, you know what? It's a shady game move, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Like, I just don't like the way he approaches the game. It's like, own the fact that you're doing something shady, okay? I'll clap all the way to the end. I'll be like, you know what? Good for Vince. He cares more about the game than somebody he just met. You know, I can respect that, okay? I genuinely can. It does just bother me that he doesn't seem to own it. I think, and it's very different. I'm not comparing the two, but I always think about Matt from Big Brother 25, who I do not like. I do not like him as a person, but he's a very interesting player in that he was like, he had a good social game and he genuinely, like, watching the feeds, he played well. Like, he did a good job of like making people feel safe with him, even if he hated them. Like, people genuinely believe that he was on their side, even when they got evicted. And I'm glad he didn't win his season. I'm not saying he, like, you know, but I always think about Matt's speech at the end and like his in his eviction, in his goodbye messages, he kept like, he never took the blame for anything he did and didn't own any game moves in because he didn't want to, like, he didn't have the game ability and like the perspective to realize that betraying somebody and being shady but then owning it is like, especially if you're likable to them, is a great, like, that's great. Like, Andy Herron, when he like betrayed people, he would constantly own it in his goodbye messages. Like, people knew he was like, that was me. But he had already built favor and people liked him. So it wasn't a like, fuck you, Andy. It was like, you know what I mean? People had a different like perspective because he owned his game. And I think in a similar but different way, Vince is not owning his game. And because of that, it's bothering me. Because it's like, if that was your strategy and you were just like, you know what, yeah, I'm going to promise everybody that if I win the veto, I'll use it on them. He just doesn't own his moves in a way that I find really annoying. I don't like Vince as a player. I have nothing against him personally because I don't know him. And besides the interpersonal relationship stuff, which I really don't enjoy talking about, there hasn't been anything like irredeemable that he's done that makes me dislike him as a person. I'm indifferent to Vince as a person. I don't care enough about him to like have that strong of an opinion. Okay, so this was really annoying to watch on feeds though. Like, I was watching feeds during the weekend and I genuinely was so enraged. And I think I said this actually yesterday. That like my most popular tweet, I think probably ever, was when I was like, why are we still doing this thing of like, oh, is the nominee going to use it on somebody else? Like, it really pissed me off. I'm like, Tucker is an idiot. Why did he influence people like that much? It really, really bothered me. And somebody replied to my comment. And like, I genuinely, when I posted that, I was like, I know somebody's going to be like, Tucker wasn't the first one to do that. Somebody brought up Big Brother 8 and when like Evil Dick saved Danielle with the veto. I'm like, please. I don't even like the man, but let's not compare a man using his veto on his daughter when he's up on the block as Morgan potentially using it on Vince. Like, that's not even comparable, okay? Anyways, on Monday, luckily, and thank God for this, Morgan really does not trust Keanu. So while she's like, you know, tentatively considering the idea, she begins to have doubts because she's like, why would I trust Keanu? Like, why would I trust Keanu? He's backstabbed me. Why would I, like, that doesn't make any sense. I was his target. Why would he suddenly be working with his target? Like, how can I believe anything he says? And I'm glad that she realized it was a stupid decision and didn't go through with it. The fact that she even considered it is a little bit annoying to me, but you know what? I'll give her a pass because she didn't end up. But like, genuinely, the fact that it's even a conversation that a nominee should use the veto on somebody else, genuinely infuriating to me. Now, obviously, the veto is going to be used, like, that's already established. So there's conversations of a renom. as soon as the vetoes won. And obviously some people are pushing for Rachel. Keanu had already promised Rachel. So he was like, it's between Ashley and Ava. They try to push Lauren a little bit, like, to him originally, because I guess, I don't know, the other side of the house doesn't realize that him and Lauren are working together. Because I guess it's not like, I think the thing about the Rachel Ashley side of the house is that they're like very, like, they're really, really close, you know? Lauren is like aligned with people, but it's not like she, like, I don't know. I feel like the allegiances aren't as strong on that side of the house. Like that, the other side of the house, and you know, I say that, but then like Mickey and Morgan, like Rachel nominated them, so like that side of the house has had its ups and downs too. But like they're not in a formal alliance, from my recollection. Like it's not like like Kelly, Keanu, Lauren, and Vince kind of are like aligned-ish, but they're not in a formal alliance that's named, from my understanding. If they are, and I don't remember it, I'm so sorry, but I don't think that they're in like a formal alliance. I might be wrong. But what was I even saying? So obviously there are names that come up, and Rachel really does not want it to be Ashley. At first she pushes Lauren. Keanu is like, I'll only do Lauren if Morgan uses it on Vince. I can't remember if he told Rachel that, but like he was never actually even considering Lauren. Then because it's between Ashley or Ava, Rachel really doesn't want it to be Ashley. So she does like kind of push for Ava a little bit, but not even because she necessarily wants it to be Ava, just because she doesn't want it to be Ashley, which is valid and fair. And I honestly was thinking that part of me would have preferred it be Ava, because I'm like, I worry more about people turning on Ashley than I worry about people turning on Ava. So I was like, Ava might be a safer pawn, but it ended up being Ashley. And she gave a speech, which I referenced earlier vaguely, about like how he taught, like she said that he's wanted her on the block for a while, and like he finally did it. And then she said that he's a narcissist and he talks down to women and all of this stuff. And it's like, people were like, how is he talking now to women? Like, that's so baseless. That I already touched on this, but like, I don't think it is. I really don't. Like the whole way that he views Vince and Morgan's dynamic already feels like a double standard that I don't like. Like, it feels very misogynistic. Vince is not that loyal to Morgan. Vince will stab anybody in the back. It's really silly to me that like the main reason that Vince didn't nominate Rachel, and like, yes, Morgan influenced him, but it was just the fact that he was in a formal alliance with that side of the house. And Morgan was like, if you take the shot at our alliance, then the rest of the people in the alliance will turn on you. Vince didn't want to burn that side of the house when he had just already burned the other side of the house in voting Riley out, you know? So it's like, going into his HOH, he had just formed the alliance with the judges. So like, it made sense. And the other people were already upset with him for voting out Riley. I don't remember. Whoever he voted out that week. I think Riley, yeah, because then he nominated Kat, and then the other side of the house just continued to be mad at him. But like, it made sense that he wouldn't want to have, and I think I said this, but it's like, either decision he made, people were going to be mad at him. So I don't totally blame him with going with the numbers and being like, more people are going to be mad at me if I make this decision, so I'm going to make the decision that less people are mad at me for. He did just fall into kind of a bad spot, because the side of the house that he upset with that decision ended up being in power when Keanu won HOH. So like, I understand. So in that regard, my point was, it wasn't Morgan influencing him. It was just him realizing that either path was risky for him, and one path, like, the odds were better that like more people wouldn't be mad at him. He wouldn't be breaking up an alliance. Like, it wasn't because of Morgan. It was because of his own. It really bothers me the way that Keanu frames the Morgan and Vince dynamic, because it's like, Vince would literally sell out Morgan in an instant, which was literally proved by Vince's whole agreeing to try to scheme to get Morgan to make a decision that would ultimately screw her over. Thank God she didn't make it. But anyways, Ashley's the replacement nominee. Morgan uses veto on herself. God bless. And Ashley's the replacement nominee. And she gives this speech. Again, sorry, I keep going on all these things. Ava's the swing vote, and so her name comes up in the falling out. And I love this. They showed this on Thursday's episode after the veto fallout that they always show, like before, Wednesday's episode ends with the veto ceremony. So we pick up after the veto ceremony. And I love the fact that Ava's name came up, and then Ava was like, neither of you bring my name into this, please. But if you are gonna bring my name into this, say Ava Pearl. I was like, loved that. That was so slay of her. She's like, if you're gonna bring me up, at least like give me the full name. I love that. That was so fun. Ashley also says nobody likes you besides Kelly, which, you know what, she kind of ate. She said this is a social game. If only you were right, Ashley. I fear it's not. No, I'm kidding. It is. At its core, it is, and it should be, and it will remain that way. Speaking it into existence. Sorry, I'm recording this Friday, and because I'm recording this Friday, I'm coming off of a full, over a day of feeds being off, and then when feeds came back, a horrible scenario happened, which I'll talk about in my next episode. I'm too upset right now to really talk about it, but in that regard, I'm right now, as of Friday, the 5th of September, I'm really not feeling like this is the social game that I know and love, which is tragic, but... Well, tragic is a bit dramatic, but it is upsetting to me personally. But anyways, so it's the scenario is basically with the three people who are up on the block. It's Mickey, It's Mickey, Vince, and Ashley. Now, Vince, the different scenarios are if it's between Mickey and Vince, I feel like it's a little bit closer. If it's between Ashley and Vince, it won't be as close. And then if it's between Mickey and Ashley, it probably won't be super close. Mickey being on... More people want... the person people want out the least is Ashley. Now, there is a group of people... Kelly, I don't know where she would have fallen, honestly, because she was kind of done with Vince. But, Lauren would have voted for Vince to stay if he had been on the block. So, Vince had some numbers if he hadn't won... if he didn't win... the blockbuster. Mickey had Ashley, I feel was in the best spot, but maybe no, I don't even think so, because again, that side has more numbers. So even if it had been a little bit closer, if Vince was on the block, because Vince has some people who would want to keep him, I don't think that Ashley was in a great amount of danger. Also, I've talked about this for the last couple of weeks, but people are really turning on Mickey. I mean, it's hard to say turning on Mickey, because I just feel a lot of them have already turned. A lot of people are really sick of Mickey. So again, if she's on the block, of the three nominees, it seems Ashley is the safest. More people want Vince gone. I do think if it was Mickey versus Vince, it would be really it would be closer. But Ashley seems she's pretty safe. Keanu doesn't want Vince to go, so he's kind of campaigning for Vince, and I think I talked about this a little bit yesterday, and I'm sorry, I don't like recording 2 days in a row, because I'm basically Keanu decided that he really didn't want Vince to go, and so this annoyed me, okay, and I do think I talked about this yesterday, but it's why is he nominating Vince to teach him a lesson? He's I don't want Vince to go, It's you shouldn't have nominated. A lot of people want Vince to go. HOTTOGO, you can take Vince to go. Anyways, a lot of people wanted Vince to go. Ava's a swing vote. Keanu, obviously, that's why Ava's name gets brought up in the post-veto thing, because Ashley's you think that Ava's gonna vote however you want. Ava can make her own decisions. Then Ava's don't bring my name into this. Ava does tell Keanu, look, I'll make my own decisions. If it's between Mickey and Vince, Ava, I think, would vote Mickey out. If it's between Vince and Ashley, I think Ava would vote Vince out. Ava really wanted Mickey out. There was also a Labor Day party on Monday. I don't really care. Also, in Keanu trying to have a conversation with Ava, he is very much other people wanted you on the block. People were trying to get you on the block instead. He tries to get Ava on his side by being the people... they care about Ashley more than they do you, I think, was the general gist he was trying to say of, Rachel wanted you on the block instead of Ashley. And it's Rachel actually wanted Lauren on the block instead of Ashley. Ava was just a last-ditch effort because she wanted to try any way possible to make sure that Ashley wasn't on the block. Ava warns Lauren, like, goes to Lauren and tells her about Vince and, like, his sketchiness. And I do think, and we saw this a little bit on the HOH episode, I believe, but after the, like, betrayal, after Vince's HOH was over, Lauren, there were a few DRs from her in the HOH episode about how she was maybe not super trusting of Vince. It's interesting. I don't really know how Lauren, I don't really understand how she views Vince. I feel like she's wary of him. Like, I feel like if she got to a point, depending who was with her, I feel like if she got to a point, I do think that she would cut him. Like, I see Lauren, and maybe I'm giving her too much credit, but I see Lauren being smart enough to, like, cut Vince. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she will be loyal to Vince to the very end. It's hard to know with Lauren, to be honest, but I like to think that she's smart enough to cut Vince if she needs to further her own game. Like, I really, really hope so. But we'll see. We'll see. Who knows? Who knows? I don't, unfortunately. Ava tries to, like, you know, get it through to Lauren that Vince is maybe not super trustworthy. Lauren, unfortunately, runs back to Vince and tells him this. This is the thing with Lauren, is, like, in the DR, she's talking about how she, like, doesn't fully know if she can trust Vince. Like, but then her actions show no hesitation towards Vince. So I really don't understand how she genuinely feels about him, or, like, if push came to shove, if she would actually vote against him. I really don't know. I mean, obviously, if it's between Vince and Mickey or Vince and Ashley, I do think that she would vote to keep Vince, like, in this week. But, like, in the game as a whole, I don't know where her vote would really lie. Like, I don't know if she would eventually betray Vince. I like to think, I don't know, I'm probably giving her too much credit because she is really just running back to Vince a lot. But for the vote as well, and they showed this in Thursday's episode, Mickey obviously is trying to get the votes, and she talks to, like, Will, and Will's like, I don't really know. It's hard if it's between you and Ashley, like, that'll be hard for me. She talks to Ava, and Ava's like, yeah, I don't know if I'll go where Will goes. And Mickey's very much like, nobody's confidently giving me their vote. She goes to Vince, and Vince is like, if I get off the block, I will 100% vote to keep you. And Mickey's like, okay, cool, Vince is the only person who's given me a solid answer. So that's obviously something. I mean, hindsight is 20/20, but it really didn't feel like to me that, like, I really wasn't worried if Ashley was on the block. I felt like Ashley would stay. I think there would be a few more votes in Vince's direct, like, I think it would be a bit more split if it was Ashley versus Vince. Again, I already said this earlier, but I don't know. I feel like Kelly over Ashley, probably she would vote for Vince to stay, but she is doubting Vince. So I don't know. Kelly could have been a rogue one, but I feel like she would vote for Ashley over Vince. Lauren would obviously vote to keep Vince. Like, it would be a bit, like, there would be more votes in that direction, in that regard. But Ashley and Mickey, people care more about Ashley than they do Mickey. That's just the truth. Like, Mickey has a lot of people that she's rubbed the wrong way at this point. A lot of people don't trust her. Like, Morgan isn't super, like, I don't really think there's anybody in the house at this point who's, like, ride or die for Morgan. I can't think of a single person who, again, it would depend who they were up against, obviously, like who Mickey was up against, but I don't really think there's anybody who's like, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I read this wrong, but I feel like at this point in the game, Mickey didn't have anybody who was, like, 100% on her side, like, super aligned with her, super trusted in her. I feel like there were people who were, like, trusted her and were aligned with her, but they had more allegiance elsewhere, you know? That's my perspective of where Mickey stood in the game. I don't really feel like Mickey had the best chance of staying. Maybe I'm wrong. I do think if it's Vince and Mickey, Vince goes. And I wanted Vince to go. He annoys me on feeds. I'm, like, kind of sick of watching him, to be honest. I want to like him as a player because, again, I think it's interesting when a player is willing to do anything and, like, not care about, like, Morgan is loyal to me. I would be screwing Morgan over by, like, getting this veto used on me. Like, I like a player who's like, but I want the veto used on me, so like Morgan's position in the game isn't my priority. I appreciate that. It's just the way he talks about his game and like the whining and like the victimizing himself when he wrongs somebody instead of, and even if he did that outwardly, but in the DRs, he was like, you gotta do what you gotta do. It's a game. Like, he doesn't, it bothers me. You know what I mean? I feel like Vince, you can really tell, is a super fan who started watching after a certain era. Like, I think he said Big Brother 16 was, and you can tell that he's a super fan or a fan, who knows, people want to define him as a super fan or not. I don't even think he was a live feeder. But, like, Vince is a fan of the show who you can tell has only watched a certain era of the show, because even though my first season of Big Brother was Big Brother 18, I did my homework and I watched old seasons, and I know the history of the game, when jury was introduced, like sequester was introduced, when the veto changed, like different strategies, the different twists. Like, I know my Big Brother history and I've watched old seasons and I have a more robust view on the gameplay. Whereas I think new age fans who started watching after a certain era, like, there aren't, and not that there aren't cutthroat players after Big Brother 16, which I think is when he started, because, like, obviously we had Vanessa, we had, like there were cutthroat people, but I just think there's a different understanding you have of the game when you've done your research and you, like, have learned when strategies came about and what different strategies mean, and, like, people who are genuinely, because I think, and maybe I'm wrong, like, maybe this is not accurate, but I feel like there is a difference, even in reality TV as a whole, in different eras, and I think the Big Brother 16 and onward era was a lot more social media heavy, right? Where I feel like, and this is something that happened on The Bachelor as well and other reality shows, but like, or even just like The Housewives, you know, like there is a energy to early reality TV when people were like maybe doing it to be on TV and to have some kind of reality TV platform, but they weren't doing it with like the awareness of like social media and social media backlash and like all of these things, or being hated or being influencers. And I think that there is like a level that Vince clearly feels like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of the new age Big Brother brain rot has got into him, where he's like wants to be cutthroat but has to be like, but I'm not happy that I'm being cutthroat, like like this is bad that I'm doing this. It's like, no, be like, it's a game, that's the point of the game. Like, that's what bothers me about Vince. It's like, I feel like you can really tell that he started watching during an age where people like were aware of that, whereas in early Big Brother people did whatever they wanted, like whatever they needed to do to win, because they weren't like super hyper aware of like the outside criticism. Not that they didn't receive criticism, obviously like blogs existed and live feeds, like obviously there's always been an ecosystem about criticizing the Big Brother players, but I think it has a, like, it doesn't have like that long lasting of an impact. Like, I don't know, I feel like there was just a different way people played the game when they genuinely were going on purely because they liked the game and they were fans of like the game of the, you know, whereas now there's like a different relationship people have where they're like worried about, like, that's my read on Vince. Like, I feel like he wants to win, and so he's trying to be like, well, I want to win, so if I need the veto used on me, then I'll push to get the veto used on me, circumstances be damned. But then at the same time, he's like, ooh, but that'll look bad. I shouldn't act like I'm happy to do this. When he should act like he doesn't. And not in a malicious way or like a nefarious way, but just in a like, this is a game and I'm going to have to do things to further me in this game that screw other people over because we're competing. I've said this before, but like a football player who's playing in the NFL, maybe they have friends on the opposing team. Hell, whatever. Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce, they're on opposing teams. They played 2 Super Bowls, I think, against each other. God, the things that I know now because of Taylor Swift. I don't know anything about football. The only reason I know that is because he's Taylor Swift's boyfriend. Or fiance now. Congrats to the happy couple. But, like, they competed against each other. And I'm sure that Travis Kelce wasn't like, oh, but I don't want to betray my brother. No, he was thinking, I want to win. We're gonna win. And like on a human level, he was probably like, I can see my brother's disappointed, but I'm happy that I won. It's a game, and I'm playing to win. I'm not playing to not hurt the other people in the game. You know what I mean? Like, that's what bothers me. It's like you should play it like it's a sport. In a sport, people lose. Somebody has to win. And that's not a personal attack, or you're not a bad person for playing the game and winning. So, like, stop making moves and doing things and being slimy and then, like, acting like you're so, like, I don't like it. Just embrace the fact that you're doing something because you need to get further in a game to win $750,000. That's a lot of money. And Vince is unemployed, and I'm not trying to, like, criticize him for being unemployed, but, like, as somebody who isn't unemployed but just, like, doesn't make a ton of money, like, that, I mean, I'm sure for most people that's, like, a lot of money, except obviously, like, billionaires, but I don't think billionaires ever go on the show, or even millionaires. Do millionaires go on the show? I don't really know, but I feel like even if you're a millionaire, like, $750,000 is still a lot. I guess it depends how much of a millionaire you are. I don't know enough about finances. My point is that especially if you're unemployed and you don't have, like, the security of a job, like, that's a big deal. And I understand Vince wanting to win the money. So just embrace the fact that you're playing a game and you want to win the money. Stop doing slimy things and then acting like, oh, but I don't want to do them, or like, I'm not actually a bad person. Just embrace the fact that it's a game and you're not a bad person, or this doesn't say anything about your character because how you're playing. Okay? That's my message to Vince, which, if he listens to this, it'll be after the season. But, like, Vince, I would have really wanted to root for you, at least on a game level, if you were a little bit more, like, embrace the fact that you were doing things because it's a game and you need to win the money and it doesn't matter if you betray other people. Like, what I would have said if I was Vince in the DRs would have been like, look, objectively, it'd be really stupid if Morgan used the veto on me. She shouldn't do it. If she was smart, she wouldn't do it, okay? This is stupid. She shouldn't trust Keanu to backstab her. But selfishly, I want the veto. So I'm going to pretend that I don't know what Keanu's talking about so I can get the veto. And it sucks. And I'm sorry to Morgan if you're watching this after the show. But I did what I needed to do. I need the money. And let that be it. Like, why does he have to position it constantly in this really annoying way? Sorry. Also, on Wednesday's episode, when they did the whole segment of, like, whatever, he said there's nothing romantic, it's just human chemistry, which that verbiage sent me. Ava, interestingly enough, I know I said a little while ago that she wants Mickey out, but Ava does say that she'll vote Vince out in either scenario, which I think makes sense because there's more votes for Vince, so it's like maybe she wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of the vote. And it's also not like Mickey is somebody who wouldn't become a target again. So I don't know how true this is, but she says that she would vote for Vince in either scenario, which I knew against Ashley that she was probably going to vote for Vince, but the Mickey thing was a bit more surprising because Ava really seems to want Mickey out. Lauren wants Vince to stay, obviously, and she even warns Vince that Ava probably might not vote for him. Again, Lauren, stop. Vince suggests to Mickey that she throw the blockbuster. I don't think she should. I don't even think she did. Also, throughout the week, Lauren and Ava grew closer, and I enjoyed this because I like Lauren and I like Ava, and I like their dynamic. Mickey's vote is also up in the air if she wins blockbuster. I think Vince committing his vote to her gave a lot of goodwill, where I do think, and again, Mickey has been, like, not super loyal to her allies, or super like she rubs people the wrong way. I don't know where Mickey's vote would have gone, honestly. On Thursday, Vince wins the blockbuster. We get the segment of, like, the post-veto fallout, Mickey trying to get votes, all of that fallout, and then the blockbuster happens. It's like the one where you're in, like, a tube and there's a bunch of balls floating and you have to, like, I think Tucker won that one. And the week, actually, funnily enough, that he used the veto on Angela, he won that blockbuster. So maybe Morgan could have taken it and fulfilled the prophecy. But anyways, Vince wins the blockbuster, and then Vince is the first to vote, and he votes to evict Ashley. And this gave me anxiety because I was like, why is Vince voting to evict Ashley? Going into the live ceremony, I live on the West Coast, so I don't watch the episodes live, but I do follow along on Twitter. Like, I'm refreshing the hashtag on Twitter to get as many updates in real time as I can, so I can know, like, who voted when, and, like, so, like, I don't want to have to wait, like, 3 hours to watch the episode. I don't care enough. So I care too much, you know? So I am, like, on Twitter, like, refreshing. So I hadn't seen the segment of Vince saying that he would give Mickey his vote. Like, I hadn't seen that, so watching the episode gave me a bit more context. But going into Thursday's thing, I didn't think that Vince would vote. Like, I was like, he's in the Judges Alliance. He's going to vote to save his fellow judge, you know? That was what I thought. So when he voted to evict Mickey, or when he voted to evict Ashley, I was like, shit, or like, the votes flipping, because maybe he did, like, he probably did this because there were more votes. I was really panicked when Vince was the first vote and it was for Ashley. Then Rachel voted, obviously, to evict Mickey. Ava voted to evict Mickey. Then Kelly voted to evict Mickey, and I was like, okay, that's good. I don't know the order exactly, but when Kelly voted to evict Mickey, I was like, okay, we're probably good, because if Kelly votes to evict Mickey, then that means Lauren's voting to evict Mickey, because previously Lauren and Kelly had a conversation where they were like, where she was like, obviously if Vince is on the block, I'm gonna vote for whoever is against him. But if it's between Mickey and Ashley, I think we should keep Ashley over Mickey. And Kelly was like, okay, I'll do that. Like, Kelly agreed to that because she didn't care, like, you know. So Kelly was somebody who was like, maybe she'll throw a rogue vote, but I was like, you know what, if Kelly votes to evict Mickey, then like for sure Lauren's voting to evict Mickey. The votes haven't flipped because Lauren wanted to keep Ashley over Mickey. So it would be really random if votes were flipping, but like anyways. So at that point I was like, okay, cool. Votes didn't flip. It was 7-1, I believe. 6-1, 7-1. Vince was the one vote for Mickey. Little odd. Then Mickey does her exit interview. Nobody was that upset that Mickey went home. And Mickey's exit interviews so far have been so funny. They asked her about the hat. Oh my god, I forgot to mention that. At some point during the week, she's wearing a hat. And Rachel's like, oh my god, what a cute hat. And she's like, it's from T-Core Couture. And Rachel's like, wait, really? And she's like, yeah, she's an Atlanta girly. I got it before she was even on Big Brother. Then at some point later, somebody was like looking for the tag, and she's like, oh, this is before. Like, this doesn't have a tag. People found the hat. T-Core, first of all, texted Chelsea, because Chelsea, who won Big Brother 26, that was T-Core's season, if you don't know, for some reason, if you didn't watch last season. But T-Core was on the last season, and she crochets. And Chelsea had tweeted, like, this is so sweet. And then T-Core, the next day, she was like, T-Core texted me saying that was not her hat. And it was funny because I had seen people being like, that is not a T-Core hat. Like, that does not look like a hat T-Core makes. And I was like, that would be so funny if she lied about this. But, like, I was like, I don't know if it's a lie or not. Like, I don't really, you know, that'd be really funny if she lied about this. And then to find out that she did lie about it, and people found the hat, and it was from Shein. So her exit interviews addressing the hat stuff, addressing how good of a player she thought she was despite not being one with peace and love. Mickey was not very good at Big Brother. Like, genuinely changed the trajectory of the season for the worse by nominating and pushing for Jimmy to go home. Like, genuinely, like, they would have gotten Kelly out if it was, or even honestly, nominating Jimmy would have been annoying. But even if she had just nominated Jimmy, like, you know, like, pull a Keanu and be like, I'm doing it to teach him a lesson or something. Or even, like, the thing that bothered me about Mickey's HOH reign was not only that she, like, nominated Jimmy, which was already annoying, but it was the fact that she was so militant and, like, intense about people daring to consider like, voting against her wishes. Like, it was as if she, and other people too, were like, Mickey's the HOH, why would people go against Mickey's wishes as the HOH? I'm like, Mickey did what she could do. Her power is to nominate people. She doesn't get, like, a full veto power sending somebody home. What show are you watching? That's not what Big Brother is. Like, I'm sorry. I would not vote. If voting somebody out is not in my best interest, I'm not going to do it just because the fucking HOH wants it. Like, that's stupid. Like, it was so intense. Even when the vote was like 9-2, she was like so annoying. Like, she wanted to know who the second vote was. Who cares? He went home. And that week literally pisses me off to no end, because the fact that Kelly was on the block, that was the only time that Kelly's been on the block on an eviction. She's been nominated so many times, and then the one time she lost a blockbuster or hadn't won a veto, because she, like, won 2 blockbusters. Now I think she's won 3. Maybe it's just 2. She's won a few blockbusters, and then one of the weeks that she was nominated, she had an extra, like, veto power, and she won that. So, like, that was, like, the only time that Kelly was on the block for an eviction and they didn't vote her out and they voted Jimmy out of all people. Like, Mickey, like, really changed the trajectory of the season for the worse in a way that I'm never, like, how did your game change, I'm going to say, for the worse when you joined the Mafia with Matt and I? Like, it changed, how did your game change, I'm going to say, for the worst when you nominated Jimmy? As much as Mickey is entertaining and as much as of the three, I would have preferred if Vince went home. Because I really like Morgan and I want to see Morgan free herself. And I'm not saying that she's, like, trapped in that, but I just, like, I think if Vince had gone pre-jury, I would have been so interesting to see how Morgan played after that, if that makes sense, especially if he left at, like, the height of, like, whatever's going on with them. Like, there was, you know, like, they were friends, but then it's become very touchy-feely and very, you know, there's something there that other people have been noticing, too. And I think it would have been a really interesting arc for Morgan if Vince went this week and was also pre-jury. Because even if Vince goes within the next few weeks, unless Morgan makes it, like, to the end and she's, like, in the final 2 chairs, or I guess even in the final 3, because the third person doesn't go to jury either. Like, unless she's in the finals, then she'll be reunited with Vince anyway. And Vince might still influence, like, you know, like, their alliance could still impact the game in some capacity. Where I just think it would have been really interesting to see what would have happened with Morgan if Vince had gone. And honestly, I find him the most annoying of the 3. Like, Mickey is annoying, but I find her completely misread of the game and her abilities and her positioning to be just so funny. But that's where we ended week. Oh, and I forgot to mention this, mostly because I don't like to think about it. They also announced that there's, like, a new twist, the White Locust or whatever the fuck twist, and that twist led to feeds being down for over a day. And then they came back and somebody was instantly gone, which pissed me off in a way I can't explain, but I will talk about that in my next episode when I cover week 9 of Big Brother. I don't need to go on a rant because honestly, who knows? It just happened. Maybe it'll be some kind of twist and it's like a jury battle back. If somebody actually went immediately the way that it happened, then I'm going to be really upset because feeds being down for a day is already really annoying. Somebody being, like, immediately eliminated based off of one comp is really, really irritating when idiots who have no... And I'm not saying, like, I'm not trying to insult their intelligence in real life, but, like, people who are horrible at the game and have no game sense and are playing horrible social games have been able to save themselves time and time and time again because they have a million fucking opportunities to get themselves off of the block with the veto and then the blockbuster and, like literally the most insufferable, bad at this game people have made it to jury and made it this far by winning comps and having so many opportunities to save themselves, but then somebody with a good social game loses one comp and they're out. It's fucked. I'm sorry. I'm really mad about it. So we'll see. Maybe I'll be eating my words next week when I'm recording this, and the twist was that it wasn't actually a real eviction. They are using the word eliminated, so whatever the fuck that means. But I am annoyed about it. So anyways, you'll hear from me next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Means a lot. If you have any feedback, concerns, comments, critiques, you can comment down below if you're listening to this on YouTube. Please follow me wherever you listen to podcasts so you can get notified when I upload a new episode. And I hope you have a great week. And I hope things turn around. Like, I hope that the anger I'm feeling right now for the state of the game turns around. Like, I hope when I'm recording my next episode, I'm in better spirits. We'll see. We'll see. Who knows? Who knows? But thank you so much for tuning in. It really means a lot. And, you know, sometimes I end this podcast by quoting Julie Chen, but I'm a little mad at her, so I'm not going to quote Julie Chen and say love one another, okay? Let's hate each other more. I'm kidding. Hate is not okay. But I think a little anger is okay sometimes. Sorry. That's all I have to say. Have a great week. Thank you so much for tuning in.